Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Sales Scoop. This is a live show for startups who want to improve how they sell. Every fortnight, we tackle the hottest topics in startup sales and bring you the shiniest pearls of wisdom from experienced sellers. I'm Alistair Cole, your host for the day. I'm an software engineer, ex-software engineer and computer scientist with 2 decades experience in sales and marketing. I'm a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership and delighted to be joined today by my co-founder, Kieran. Hello, Kieran.
Hi, Alistair. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Kieran Gill. I'm also a co-founder of the Uplift Partnership, and I've got over 2 decades worth of experience in frontline sales and sales operations, working both in technology and in finance.
Some would say even a B2B sales guru, I think. So today, the topic today is very exciting. 7 quick wins for startup founders in sales. We know they struggle sometimes, and we're here to help them just accelerate their tech startups with 7 quick wins. And we're going to try and move pretty quickly today. We're talking about acceleration. We're talking about quick wins. We're talking about pulling the levers that are going to make the quickest or generate the biggest bang for your buck very quickly. What do you think, Kieran, when we talk about like quick wins? How important are they? What are they? What should startups be doing?
Well, the thing is, quick wins, it's one of those strange terms that people try to bring because you always think that you don't have to put much effort into something, and it's a quick win because it's going to happen quickly. And especially in sales, everybody wants a quick win in sales. Everybody wants one of those. However, there are things within your process that you might be able to implement very quickly that might have amazing effects straight away that will help you just boost your sales. So I know we're coming up into the summer season now. We're 7 weeks away from basically the holidays starting. This is the sprint now, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get it on now. If we don't get it on now, we're probably going to fall behind, and H2 or the second half of the year is going to be more difficult. So now's the time to get our skates on. And these 7 quick wins, these are quick kind of things that you can get into your sales process, something just to accelerate it very quickly to get some deals across the line before the summer season kicks off.
Yeah, spot on. And, quick wins aren't always the answer. Certainly they're not the answer for long-term growth, but quick wins can be used to catalyze your process, re-energize, kickstart your sales function if it's slowed down or it's stalled. And the truth is that in sales, like a lot of things, there's kind of 2 speeds. You need to be sowing the seeds for future success, and at the same time, you can look at what can be done quickly and which levers can be pulled. And that's where we're going to be today, looking at 7 quick wins that can accelerate your sales function. And we're going to couch these 7 around our 360 sales diagnostic.
Yep. So when we built our dashboard or our tool that basically analyzes sales functions, what we did was we split it into 7 different segments. Now, the reason we did that was as we analyzed everything, we built the 360 to find out what was the actual problem within sales functions and how could we accelerate your business as quickly as possible by analyzing the different sections. So you see that there's 7 different sections. So we start off with sales strategy. That is the fundamental foundation for your business. And that's what we look at straight away. Have you got the strategy in place in your sales strategy to make sure that you're going to be able to be successful? We then move on to team structure because, team is human. That's what we are. We want to make sure that we've got the right people doing the right jobs with the right skill set. And then we move on to technology stack because technology plays a massive role now in sales, whatever you're selling. So unless you have the right stack, you're not going to be successful. We then move into more of this process side of things, or the sales process itself. We have a look at lead generation, and we look at your lead generation process, all the things that go with that, whether it's technology, your people, your material that you're using. And then we move into deal closing, where obviously we want to make sure that those clients that we're bringing into the funnel, that we're able to convert them and close them. And then we're moving into the final two sections. Section 6 is about customer success. We've won our customers. Now we want to keep them. We need to retain our customers, make sure they're not going anywhere else or they're getting the value out of our product. And then finally, we need to make sure that we're continuously improving our processes, our tools, our people, and that we're constantly looking at improving across the board in our sales function, because we're never going to stop still. We're always going to try to grow as best as we can.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great whistle-stop tour. And then underneath those 7 sections, we overlay, we have 52 different metrics that sit under there, and that's how we score the 360. And so we've dived into all the data that we've got from the 50 plus startups that have been through the 360 and pulled out the 7 areas that are the ones that where you can pull the lever for a quick win and get immediate impact in your sales function. The 360 that Kieran talked about just then is something that we use for all of our clients, and doubles the number of meetings, 4x's win rates, and provides a healthy return on investment. So let's get into the 7 now. What we're going to do is work our way round the wheel, starting in the sales strategy space, and we've picked out buyer's journey analysis, which scores just 31.1%. So it's much lower than the average in sales strategy, a much overlooked area. So at 31.1%, talk to me, Kieran, about a little about buyer's journey analysis. What is it? How important is it?
Okay, we spend a lot of time when we're setting up our sales processes looking at how we sell. However, something that tends to get underlooked is people knowing how our customers are actually purchasing our products or our services. So it's very easy to just generically think they're going to purchase the way we're trying to sell to them. Actually, you have 2 processes. You have the sales process and you have the buyer's journey. And what we need to do is make sure that those 2 processes are actually linked together, and that we make sure that our clients are getting, or our potential clients are getting the right information or the right tools or whatever it is along the way. Now, what tends to happen is companies tend to have a very simplistic view of the buyer's journey, and they have a kind of an understanding, but they kind of make it up ad hoc. The quick win here is actually by just getting a piece of paper and sitting down for a few hours, you can quickly jot out and look from the customer's point of view what the actual process is. If you were the customer, how would you purchase your product from you? And what you can find there is a quick gap analysis. Oh my God, we're missing this fundamental thing. When we're going to networking events, we're actually we're not doing any research. How are we going to be able, that's a quick win. These are simple little things. Only by mapping this out will you actually find that out. And it doesn't take that long to do.
And I love that. With a pencil and paper, you're sitting down, you're listing out the different channels that how you're engaging your buyers and how successful each of those is, what your funnel mix is, and how you're going out to market, and then the comms and content that you're delivering to the buyer each step. So, your idea of pencil and paper is fantastic. You can sketch out those touch points and then have a think about what messages are being delivered in that moment and how successful they are. That's the analysis piece, right? Mm-hmm. Getting the data from your various tools, your website analysis, social media analysis, how well your email newsletter is doing, and bringing all of that data together. And really where the rubber hits the road is in the language that you're using, right? The search terms that people are looking for your product or service, and then how you're engaging them, what verbs you're using within your calls to action to engage them, whether you're at the awareness stage, consideration stage, or decision stage. There's the relevant language that needs to be used, and that experience tailored just for them. So that's number 1, buyer's journey analysis. Second, 2, within the team structure. So looking at your sales team, we've got role definitions, right, which is kind of at 42.2. There are areas that are much lower in the team, like sales learning development. We see average scores at just 30%, right? But obviously, the sorting the people side of things and skills is not really a quick win. So we've picked something in the role definitions that actually you can move quite quickly. What should a startup be doing, my friend, if they wanted to, clarify the roles within their sales function, what should they do?
So the sales process is, we have multiple things that's happening all the way through, and you need different skill sets at different points, and different people within your team might be better to actually do certain parts of the process than you are. The easiest thing to do would be, and this is what tends to happen in most startups, is you tell your salesperson that they have to do their lead gen, their account closing, and probably their customer success on their own. And they're probably doing ad hoc marketing, whatever. They're pretty much doing everything. However, the quick way to win here is, if you've got a team, that is, no, you're not a solo entrepreneur who's stuck with everything. So pretty much you have to do everything anyway. But if you've got a bit of a team, you can start splitting up the actual tasks that you have to do and put them into defined roles. So you can get one person doing the lead gen part, you get another person who's doing the deal closing part, and you could have another person who's looking after the customer success. That doesn't stop them overlapping, and it doesn't stop them helping out, but you've got one person who takes control of the lead gen, and they know it's their responsibility to get those campaigns launched, and vice versa and vice versa. And again, this is a great thing that you can do. I've seen my friend and colleague Alistair do this so many times. It's a great thing for a whiteboard or a piece of paper. You list down all the tasks, you start splitting them up.
Yeah, and we've got that between the three of us as founders, don't we? We have a kind of single slide, and we've sketched out what are the kind of gold, silver, and bronze things that everybody's doing in sales. And it doesn't feel like a lot, but actually you get that clarity then, right? And with the clarity we see with our clients comes additional confidence, and then guess what? They end up starting closing more deals than previously. So just getting some bullets down on a piece of paper, who's doing what and when, and that rolls into cadence as well. So difficult to affect the team structure really quickly, but defining those roles a bit better will certainly help. And we know that definitions in sales are helpful, right? HubSpot found that 68% more accounts are won when there's a stronger ideal customer profile defined. And sure, that is in your people, but this is about having the words and the definitions down on paper so that the rest of the process is built on stone and not sand. Section number 3 is inside tech stack, and we've picked the analytics and reporting tools that startups are using because that score is very low at just 35.6 on average in tech stack. Why are analytics and reporting tools, so important? How can that deliver a quick win, my friend?
Tends to be ad hoc in most companies, or basic level. You tend to have salespeople or management using Excel or backs of pieces of paper or whatever, because it's all about doing, isn't it? It's so important. We need just to get things done. However, unless we have the data and we understand what we're doing and what our actions are and what the results are, we won't know what we can change to make it better. So, and the quick win here is, ladies and gentlemen, that most tools or CRMs that you're using nowadays come with dashboards. They come with analytics. The strange thing is, and what we've noticed is, the fear from a lot of companies to actually use those analytics or use those tools effectively to make sure that they're getting that data. So, and there are other tools that you can use to link in with that CRM to make sure that you get a robust understanding of what your analytics and your dashboards are, so that when you do your review at the end of the week, you actually have proper data to say, oh, that piece of that content that we sent out last week, no one opened it. Oh, or something that we did do was amazingly effective, and we need to do more of that.
Yeah. Rolling that data up through dashboards, that are accessible on your desktop, on your mobile, really important. This is the kind of engine room of the dashboard for our 360 sales diagnostics, showing recent activity, wins, win rate, income generated, and how your 360 score changed over the last 90 days, and as a result of that, your sales. So, and that data comes from multiple points, but is rolled up, easy to get, easy to see what's happening. Sometimes, they do need a bit of interpretation, but overall, we see relatively low scores in this area. I think that is a quick win. Try out a new tool, come and work with us, get your sales data reported in a way that you can see where the gaps are and plug them. Let's dive on out of tech stack and into the fourth segment round the wheel. Very important area, lead generation and technology in lead gen here, scoring not terribly, but well below par at 38.9 on average across the 53 startups that we've put through so far. Technology and lead gen, I mean, we did a huge show on this last week. And I know that you're a kind of self-confessed lead gen tech junkie, Kieran. Talk to us about what quick wins can be made in terms of sorting technology out for lead gen.
Right. So when it comes to technology, there's loads of new stuff coming out. AI and generative AI is pretty much getting thrown into all sorts of lead gen tools now. So if the tool that you're using doesn't have that, you're already behind the curve and you're pretty much turning into a dinosaur. So you need to be careful. Now, I'm not telling you that you need to keep on changing to the next best thing because there's so much new stuff out there. But our last show on hyper-personalized outreach was, it changed the way I looked at things, because suddenly I noticed a lot of the tools, or some of the tools that I used to use, weren't as good as they were. And some of the new tools, we talked about one called Sally, they are very, very good, but they're still not at that point where you probably think, oh, should I be using it? So you need to keep on looking at technology. Is your technology stack or your lead gen stack up to date, up to scratch? Is it doing what it's supposed to do? And that links back into your dashboard. Is it bringing in? If it's doing good and you're getting enough leads through, why change it? You're fine. Keep an eye on it. However, if you suddenly notice, hold on, we haven't reviewed our tech stack or our lead gen tech for a while, you probably need to speak to somebody to say, hey, is there something that we're using? Should we be looking to do something different? Hold on, we want to try something a little bit more exotic. Is there something out there? And again, you can speak to us. I have a pretty good knowledge of what's out there and what's working. And some things that might not fit me might be a good fit for you. So always reach out and have a chat with us.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I posted a video about this on Friday last week about how in kind of looking at your technology stack in lead gen and other areas, you have to both be wedded to something that's going to deliver in 6-12 months time, but also playing with the new stuff. It's challenging. There's a lot of time needs to be invested in seeing what's happening, because you might missing the boat on a new wave of platforms or new kinds of technology might not seem that bad, but if your competitors are all diving into that space and they're generating leads 10 times quicker and cheaper than you are, then that is going to be a long-term problem. We know that those lead gen technology tools can deliver great results, right? We've seen it, and it's just as well, because 87% of buyers, according to Forrester report from just a few months ago, 87% of B2B buyers expect to be delighted before and after purchase, right? The pressure is on, the expectations are super high. And as you said, hyper-personalized outreach is almost getting to table stakes. We're not quite there yet, but that kind of highly personalized assets, tailored not just with your name and email address, but tailored to your current business challenges and what's been happening in the news for you and your competitors. It's a way to cut through the noise, and technology can help that in the area of lead generation. Let's move around to slot 5 in the wheel within deal closing. The area we've picked is deal qualification methodology. 54.4 is better than pretty much all the ones we've reviewed so far, and yet it's still underperforming because there are easy ways to get your deal qualification methodology really high, really quickly. Where do you see the kind of deficiencies, Kieran, in the startups that we talk to? Where are they struggling, or where are they missing stuff in their deal qualification methodology?
I've had several conversations this year from startups who have got a lot of deals that are stuck in their actual pipeline. They were probably expecting things to move on a little bit better. I think all of us have had that kind of experience this year. 2024 didn't kick off much better than the end of 2023. So what we have is a lot of stuck deals. How to unstick deals is by deal qualifying them. Most people will say, oh yes, we qualified them. However, qualification isn't a one-time trick. It's something that you're supposed to do throughout the deal cycle. And what you notice if you do deal qualification correctly is you'll suddenly notice that a deal that you might have scored high several months ago when you started talking to them has now suddenly fallen off the cliff, and it pretty much isn't a deal any longer, and you're going to have to start it from scratch. Though it's sitting in your CRM still at 75% the way through, and you're expecting it to close in 30 days, though that 30 days has been pushed on about 7 times. Yeah. So deal qualification is the easiest thing that you can do. And by just implementing it into your sales process, what takes nothing but more than 10 minutes of really thinking about doing it. Because one thing that we do have is our product, and I've posted it there in the comments there in our LinkedIn comments, is Revenue Coach. And Revenue Coach is a deal qualification tool, and it's free currently. So you should be using that if you haven't got anything. It's a great tool to use. It has a simple way of setting itself up. If you need help setting it up, I'm happy to talk to you about it. It's in the comments. Go there, sign up, start your deal qualification straight away on your deals, and get those deals that are stuck currently unstuck.
Yeah, nice. Thanks. Revenue Coach is a personalized sales coach for the price of a coffee. Currently free. We're a paywall coming soon. And we know that's important, right? Being able to, one of the things that Revenue Coach does brilliantly is tell you what the next move is. And you have to be dynamic within deal closing. It's absolutely essential. McKinsey found that 86% of sellers struggle while closing a deal to adapt to the changing needs and expectations of buyers. So essential that you are dynamic, and using a tool like Revenue Coach can help keep you on your toes. So that's deal closing. The sixth area we're going to focus on is customer success, and within that, customer success process underperforms quite badly. It's really important. It only gets 33.3% on average, and obviously the startups that we're talking to, they're focused on revenue growth. They're focused on income growth. They're looking to grow, land the deals, close, and move on. And often they're neglecting certainly that early part and beyond of customer service. So what are you seeing in this area, Kieran, that is a troubling area?
Just to give you a quick anecdote about this, I was speaking to a VC not so long ago, and one of the metrics that they look at when they look at your company, if you're looking to IPO or float it or sell it in the future, one of the things that VCs look at, and when they're assessing a company, is retention of your clients, because they're not going to invest into you. They're gone are the days when people used to just throw money at startups. So your retention is really important. That means your customer success process needs to be tip top. The easiest way to do this, and what I have seen in a lot of the startups that we've been to and assessed, is that there is no process, and it's pretty much being made as it goes along. It has to be in your sales playbook. And if you haven't got a sales playbook that is covering all of your sales process, then you probably are behind the curve, and you're not going to be professional, and your cadences are going to be off. So just implementing a sales playbook that has that process in there, showing you exactly what you're supposed to do when a client is, when you onboard a client, when you need to send a certain email to them to make sure that they're using it, when you need to reach out to them to see if they want more users, whatever it is, you need to have your playbook that gives whoever is running that side of your business the cadence to make sure that you don't lose customers. Because tell you the truth, if you're looking to sell or you're looking to grow, people who are investing into your company are going to look at those numbers.
Yeah. And it's that, for me, if you start at the beginning of your journey, your customer success journey, it's really about what happens immediately after that sale. So, looking at a 3-month plan of what should happen to customers once they've purchased. Obviously, there's a good chance that they'll have a free trial, a 14-day free trial or something at the start. So looking after them immediately is a quick win, because, in that initial period, there's a chance they, turn away from the software. Are they going to rebook a second month's subscription? So it's really important to show them a lot of love early on, and that can be done quite quickly. Thinking about what message are they going to get, even if it's handwritten to start with, within the first week, the first few days, the first month, and then beyond. So the first 100 days. So that can be done quite quickly. Again, you can sit down with a pencil and paper. It might just be a really heartfelt welcome message that goes out to thank them for either signing up or becoming a paying customer. So really important, that early part of the customer success process. And then the seventh and final area is within continuous improvement. And we see that sales team skills and training is very poor, very low down. 36.7 is the average score across the 53 startups that we've put through so far. What are your thoughts on this area of continuous improvement and sales team skills and training, Kieran?
So it tends to get overlooked, especially in startups. We think we bring people in, or we don't really have to worry about training people because we expect them to have the knowledge. However, things are just moving so rapidly now in sales. So you need to have a real understanding of what the new techniques are there. If you're bringing in new tools. So carving out a bit of time every week where you actually fundamentally say to your team or yourself, if you are the team, to say, hey, you know what, 1 hour, 2 hours a week, we're going to dedicate that to training, and we're going to try to make this, trying to make a formula, not a formula, but make a formality of making it week on week, and that we keep on, make sure that we're just that we have everything in place. Do we know that the new techniques out there? Have we got everything in one place? Just making sure that you're keeping to it, because it's easy to let training and skill just slip away.
Yeah.
You've done it once, don't need to do it again, learning on the fly, but you don't know if you're doing the right thing. So just spending a little bit of time watching a few videos can be something that can be opening up your eyes straight away. Going to a seminar, making sure that you're constantly developing yourself into the best salesperson you could potentially be.
And you've talked a little bit about a big number. We talk about sales actions. There's a big number you keep throwing at me. Remind me, what is that?
I think the number is 618. That I've kind of done a bit of work in the background of how many sales actions per month you probably need to do to close around about 4 clients. This is for a product that is medium priced. So we're talking anywhere between anywhere from £1,000 to £5,000. And what you're looking at there is around about a 90-day sales cycle. So if you do it that way, what was it, Alistair? How many deals should we close?
618, I think, mate. 618 is the number for the 4 deals. And that sounds really daunting, but that includes automated actions, right?
Yes.
That products are doing for us. And you talked about AI earlier. Gartner sees that there's 27% extra bandwidth can be generated or created for sellers if they're able to harness AI. So those tools, really important that you can pick up in the sales skills. And if technology is harnessed positively, then we see a 43% higher quota than those who are overwhelmed by technology. So really important that those skills are worked on. So that's the end of those seven quick wins across those areas. As I mentioned, a lot of that data, or all of that data, all those numbers, that all comes from the startups that have been through our 360 sales diagnostic. Obviously, the data is anonymized, and you can read more about the 360 at theupliftpartnership.com/360. We showed a screen earlier of our dashboard, but this is what it looks like when you get your score. We break down into each of the 7 areas with the recommendations and traffic lights on each of the 52 metrics. And there's a rolling dashboard of progress in the last 30, 60, and 90 days. So that's the 360 website /360 if you want to know more. Before we wrap up, we've got quite a busy month this month with live events.
Sorry, I might no. So next week we're at London Tech Week. So we're going to be in London. Both Alistair and myself are going to be at London Tech Week at Olympia. We're then going to be moving on to Tobacco Docs, what is also in London, for the AI Summit towards the end of the week. And I think that's the 11th and the 12th. And
That's right.
yep, that's it. And then we move on to our additional, what we'll be having in 2 weeks is the big 3 takeaways that are going to be coming from London Tech Week in sales. And that'll be in 2 weeks' time. And then 2 weeks after that, so you've got the whole month planned, we're going to have our big 5 foundations for 2025.
Awesome. Yeah, so basically lots going on in the Uplift world. You know, you can find out what's happening over at our events page, upliftpartnership.com/events. That is loosely how we're going to be treating each of the networking opportunities during the day and the evenings. Next week's going to be a huge week with London Tech Week and others. And there's a lot of information there on, as Kieran said, our next show is 2 weeks today, our next live show, 2 weeks today, where we'll be bringing from London Tech Week the 3 big sales takeaway, very much focused on sales. Well, that's us for today. Thank you very much for your time, Kieran. Hugely appreciated.
Thank you very much, Alistair. Same here.
All there is now is to say thanks everybody for watching, and goodbye.
See you soon.
Bye.